And welcome into our weekend edition of Fourth Down in the Steel City, our hot sheet edition, where we make all of our picks for the NFL weekend. If you're watching on YouTube, hi, everybody wave. Everybody say hi. This is Fourth Down in the Steel City on YouTube, 93.7 The Fans channel. If you haven't already, there's a little, it's over below, kind of where Greg and Josh, between the two of them, below them, there's a little bell. You're going to tap on that. That'll notify you whenever new videos are posted to the Fans account on YouTube, including whole episodes of Fourth Down in the Steel City. If you're listening to the audio edition, well, thank you. You can't see us, but we appreciate you listening to us. And make sure you're subscribed if you haven't yet already inside whatever app you use to get your podcasts. Hopefully, it's your free Odyssey app at AUDACY. And now we will pick the games for this weekend after, Greg, you make a very important point to tell everyone what our records were for last week.
Do I have to? No, I'm kidding. Chris went 14-2 last week. He absolutely killed it. The only two that he got wrong were like the two games that we thought were slam dunks. He took the Bengals, and they got blown out by Tennessee. And he took Kansas City, and Patrick Mahomes trolled everybody by sliding down at the 2 yard.
Fanning myself right now. I do declare it's quite warm over here on this side of Fourth Down in the Steel City. I
hate my life right now. I really hate my life right now.
I sound like Foghorn Leghorn, you see.
I hate my life right now.
All right, so look, I said this to Greg, Josh, before you jumped on, before we started recording earlier. It's entirely likely that there's a 2-14 also inside this cranium somewhere to go with the 14-2 I just laid down. So that's the limits of my cockiness. I am done.
This is your. Is that your Clint Hurdle punch counter punch? Your league counter punch is coming?
The league is about to punch back, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. We'll see.
Josh went 9-7, and I went room temperature 8-8.
Okay.
Chris striving to stay above room temperature. That's how we roll around here.
Chris is 37-27. Josh is 33-31. I am 28-36. So 9 games out of first place for old Jermichael.
You 10 games out.
I believe I may be catching a hot flash here, boys. Whoo!
You went from like Carolina. You went from Carolina to like Miami.
I have no idea how that happened.
Unreal.
Because the hook brings you back, and you faded the hook.
This is true. That I give you credit. You are you're very disciplined with that. I give you credit.
All right, Greg. What do we got this week?
So we start with London football Sunday morning. Jacksonville's in London again. And they are taking on Buffalo. The Bills are -5.5. I'll start with you, Chris.
Yeah, different stadium in London, but still jolly old London. I believe they're playing in the home of Tottenham Hotspur this weekend. I don't know if it matters. The Bills have figured some things out. They figured them out in a big way against Miami. I think Jacksonville may be a whole lot more 9-8 than a lot of us thought before the season. And this is, look, if they're going to win 10 games this year, which I think will be more than enough to win the South, although I think everyone in the South is 2-2 now,
yes,
reevaluating everything in that division. If they're going to win 10 games this year, that means they're going to lose 7. And one of the 7 they're most definitely going to lose is going to be to Buffalo, even if it's in their de facto home of London. I think Buffalo, even at 5.5, covers this thing. So give me the Bills over the Jags.
I agree with Chris that if Jacksonville's going to lose 7 games, one of them has to be to Buffalo. I will disagree at the Bills covering the 5.5.
Oh,
Jacksonville will make this close for a couple of different reasons. I think if they're that far behind Buffalo, this kind of has backdoor cover special written all over it, where Trevor Lawrence might sling it around and get it to within 3 or 4. Plus, they're also playing in London. I said this last week when we picked last week's game. There is something about Jacksonville playing in London where they have seemed to figure it out. And I don't know if it's because their owner owns a Premier League club and he's overseas a lot. I don't know. I can't figure it out. But there's something about Jacksonville and London that works. So I say at the very least, the Jaguars cover this game. I don't know if they win, but I think they cover the 5.5.
All right.
Chris, you said the Bills have figured something out, and figuring something out is Stephon Diggs is on this team again.
Let's throw the ball towards
and
him.
Maybe we should give him the ball.
Yeah.
And that's what
I know
Josh
the other
Allen
thing they
did
figured
on
out.
Sunday. Yeah, they run the football now.
They're running the ball with their running backs. Hey, we got guys to hand it off to. Let's do that and not make the big tall guy do it all the time.
Yeah, but Stephon Diggs has been just a monster after what he just did against the Dolphins. And for that reason alone,
true. Yes.
I'm taking Buffalo.
Okay.
So Bills it is. Houston at Atlanta, 1 o'clock slate. The Falcons are minus 1.5. I'll start with you, Josh.
It's so hard to look at what Houston did last week and say, oh, well, maybe they can do this again. And then you remember, oh, wait, they're not playing the Steelers. Oh, that changes a lot. All the same.
It is
all
Desmond
the same.
Ridder, though.
And that's the thing. Like they're facing Desmond Ridder, and CJ Stroud just continues. It continues to come out of games unscathed and maybe even look better every time he steps on. I think they're going to keep rolling with this thing where they can keep him in the pocket, keep him clean, get the ball out, get it in space, and they can do this. I got them beating Atlanta on the road. They're going to be 3-2. It's crazy, but I like it.
Yeah, I like the Texans as well here, Josh. I wish we could bet totals as well because I 41.5 seems low on this one for me, given what we saw the Texans do last week. Again, against the Steelers, but against the Steelers defense that isn't total trash. So yeah, I definitely like the over, just as an aside there. And I do like the Texans getting points on the road.
I like the Texans as well.
Uh-oh.
All three of us are on Houston.
And Atlanta gets the win because we all picked Houston.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
We did okay last week with some games that we picked. So we had Lions, Jags, Ravens, Bucks, Chargers, and Seahawks all hit.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I just think Atlanta's not there yet. Ridder is trying to do too much, and whenever they get down, they can't hand the ball off to Bijan all the time, and they're going to.
So they're not built to cover behind. Greg, is what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Usually, you say that around these parts, you get killed for it. That's all I'm warning you about. Don't say that too loud.
Can't believe you would say that.
Carolina at Detroit, Lions minus 8.5. I'm going to take the Lions and not blink twice.
8.5. I've seen it as high as 10 in some places.
Yeah, we had it at 10 at one point.
Yeah, I think the Lions run away and hide in this one. I still am holding on to my faint glimmer of hope that by the end of the season, Bryce Young has not been busted into pieces and is starting to put some things together, and the offensive line is figuring some things out. But man, they just look disjointed as all hell on offense. Like Frank Reich is like a statue over there, taking forever and a day to get plays called in. I think the Panthers fall to 0-5. I think the Lions trounce them. I think they cover the number.
They picked the wrong quarterback. Bryce Young was everybody's top pick on the draft boards, but CJ Stroud is definitely right now the best quarterback in that class.
You and I talked about this going into the draft, and we're like, how do we know it's not Stroud? How do we know it's not Stroud and that it's Young? And we said the same thing, Greg, going into the draft. So I totally agree with that. I'm going with Detroit. I like what they have done as far as how they're scoring. I like what they're doing. Now, I also like what they're doing as far as their offense. They know when to run the ball. They know when to throw the ball, but they also know how to protect their quarterback. I love that offensive line. The weapons they have work. I know Greg is a big Montgomery guy because he's on your fantasy team. I could see this being one of those days where they're throwing the ball all over the lot in short yardage to give it to Montgomery, and he just cashes in a couple touchdowns. This could be a double-digit game. I'll take Detroit.
Even with St. Brown possibly not playing in this game, they get
my favorite family.
They get Jameson Williams back.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
So they might not.
The representative of my family isn't playing the St. Browns.
He might play. He's questionable. He's questionable.
Look up the St. Browns, folks. It's an amazing, outstanding family of athletes and their parents and educated young men. They're incredible.
Sticking in the 1 o'clock slate, AFC South matchup, Tennessee at Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor more than likely is going to play in this game. The Colts are minus 1.5 at home. Chris, I'll start with you.
Colts are minus 1.5.
Yep.
Again, a number that seems to be all over the place because I've seen Tennessee favored by 2.5 in some spots. Here nor there, I think the Colts are the team in this one because the AFC South, I won't be entirely surprised if all 4 teams finish 8-1. That's what the AFC South has become. I like Anthony Richardson. Jonathan Taylor, like you said, is back. I like the Colts. It'll be a tight game. I think it'll be ugly AFC South football. But as long as Anthony Richardson plays the entire game and stays healthy, I think the Colts win.
I like the combination of Anthony Richardson plus a healthy, functioning Jonathan Taylor. I think the thing that makes Tennessee viable, I guess if that's the word you want to use as far as being able to win any kind of game, is that they got to be able to get a lead and then wear you down with that run game and throw Derrick Henry at you till you pretty much don't want to deal with him anymore. I think Indianapolis is one of the teams that can prevent that. They can manage to get themselves either keep it close or get themselves a lead, and Jonathan Taylor can break a game at any moment. And not to mention the fact he can close games out. There's a reason why a lot of people were having different kind of discussions of would you trade for Jonathan Taylor, because he's a running back that can do pretty much anything, and that's why he's so important, and that's why they win this game. I like Indy.
And you have a quarterback in Richardson where you can run the option now with Jonathan Taylor as your running back, and that's
pick your poison.
That's scary. That's a scary thought for opponents. I like the Colts as well. This one, I think we can just do a 3-2-1 unless Chris doesn't trust the hook. But Giants at Dolphins, Miami minus 9.5, 3-2-1. Dolphins.
Miami.
Thank you. I mean, what was that performance by the Giants on Monday Night Football? They let Daniel Jones get sacked 11 times in that game.
It was hideous. That's twice this year, by the way, I think. They've let Daniel Jones get sacked 7 times or more in a game. That's happened twice already in their first 4 games. They are
a mess.
Even if Saquon is back, I don't think that's enough to balance things out for the Giants. 9.5, especially. Yeah, I'll lay it. Give me the Dolphins.
That team is a mess. It's bad. It's really bad.
It continues to be more and more evidence about how the Giants just fumbled this offseason. How you gave Daniel Jones so much money and you didn't want to pay Saquon. And without Saquon Barkley, this offense can't do anything. Brian Daboll is looking at Daniel Jones on the sideline like his soul left his body and it was replaced by an alien. Like he doesn't even know what his quarterback is anymore. It's a mess. The Giants they have a -8 turnover differential. They're a mess. They're an absolute mess. This is and Miami's at home.
Yeah.
This is my survivor pick of the week too.
Yep.
Miami and see ya.
Yeah.
Good pick.
I mean, I just can't believe how bad the Giants are. And they're putting them on primetime TV way too much this season.
NFC East.
Yeah.
Because they were buying the Daniel Jones hype. We'll never do that again.
He went to Duke. When has anybody from Duke ever succeeded in the NFL? Silence.
Yeah.
New Orleans at New England.
But I can't think of his name.
Go ahead.
There was that one guy,
There was one receiver. I can't think of. He played for Washington. I can't think of his name right now. Jameson was his face.
Didn't Chris Hogan go to Duke? But he played lacrosse.
Chris Hogan? I think you're right.
Yeah.
No, he went to Penn State. Chris Hogan?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
for the Patriots?
Yeah, Penn State lacrosse player.
Oh, I thought he went to Duke.
Ben Watson. Ben Watson went to Duke. There we go. There's one.
Oh, Jamison Crowder.
That's it. Okay, we found 2.
He is pretty good.
Okay. Brian Baldinger. Noted Duke alum.
Baldy's a Duke guy.
Yep.
Wow.
All right, I think Ross Cockrell. Ross Cockrell went to Duke.
now we're getting into the.
JJ Redick went to Duke.
We are in the cornfields of the proverbial baseball field now.
My point is, no quarterback has come out of Duke and succeeded at the NFL level that we can think of.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So Daniel Jones was their pick, and they made their bed with that one, and they're sinking. They're sinking hard.
QB thirst is real, as I say often. The QB thirst is real.
And it was a bad pick. Okay, New Orleans at New England. Speaking of teams that are in shambles, Bill Belichick's Patriots without Tom Brady have just been awful. Mac Jones, one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. They can't get the run game going because they get down by 30 points immediately.
This all sounds very familiar.
I know. So I'm going to take the Saints on the road on this one.
What's the spread?
It's New England minus 1.5.
Yeah, give me the Saints.
I'll agree. And you want to talk about things that are scary. New England's averaging 13.8 points per game on offense. That is just wow.
Yikes.
I heard too many people that said last week that the Patriots would give Dallas a game. And I'm like, what Patriots team have you been watching? Like, well, they played the Jets well. Well, okay, cool. And they only won by 5 against Zach Wilson.
Didn't I take New England last week?
You did.
Against
You
Dallas?
didn't try to convince us why.
No, I didn't try to convince why.
Say, I think New England's going to win this game outright. Like, no, come on.
It was just me more or less not trusting Dallas than it was anything else. But
right.
Dallas has made it clear what they are.
But the NFL is such a week by week basis. You go, well, Dallas didn't show up last week, so now I don't trust them again. That's not how this league is. It's just not. Yep. So, all right, we're all taking the Saints.
Yep,
we are.
Which means that Belichick's going to get the team ready and they're going to win the game.
Most likely, yeah.
That's pretty much what happens. Yep.
Final 1:00 slate game is the one that we will be paying attention to the most. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. Steelers plus 4.5 at home. Originally, I liked the Steelers to cover because the Steelers and Ravens play sloppy football games, no matter who's playing. I was watching highlights. I don't know why I did this to myself at 3 a.m, but I was watching highlights of Steelers-Ravens last year when Mitch Trubisky threw 3 interceptions. The Steelers were driving in the red zone all 3 times, and he turned the ball over and cost them that game.
Yep.
But they only lost by 2 points. So I still think the Steelers can cover 4.5 at home. But the problem is that this offense just hasn't shown me enough, and Baltimore's getting players back, including Humphrey. So I'm going to take the Ravens in the points.
Josh,
we talked about this earlier when we were kind of going behind enemy lines talking about Baltimore. I think we all agree, Chris, this could easily be a field goal game either way. And this rivalry, this annual meeting between these two, or I should say these semi-annual meetings, they go that way. It tends to be less than a touchdown on average. It tends to be the team that wins the turnover margin. Whoever makes the fewer mistakes wins the game, and it comes down to something small. I think it'll be a field goal game either way. So I'll take the Steelers covering the 4.5 at home.
As much as history tells us that this is going to be an ugly knockdown, drag out 1917 kind of game, I think things are trending in opposite directions here, gentlemen. Lamar is trending up. The receiving core is trending up and healthy for Baltimore. The defense is getting healthier, and the Steelers are trending towards disaster. And so I think Lamar finally gets his big, emphatic statement win on the road at Heinz Field. And I think, unfortunately, this feels a whole lot like Houston or San Francisco. And I think people are at the gates of 3400 South Water Street with pitchforks and torches on Monday morning, maybe even Sunday night. I think the Ravens win by at least a touchdown, if not double digits. Give me the Birds.
So you're telling me don't set an alarm for Sunday is what you're telling me. I don't want to go through that again, what they did against the Texans.
I can't even argue against that because we just talked about this offense in Baltimore and Todd Monken coming in and Lamar just looking like he can just pick and throw. He's throwing the ball like he did at Louisville, and that scares me. So I can't even argue with you.
And we didn't even mention they're getting Ronnie Stanley back.
Yeah, Ronnie Stanley
huge
back. And that'll be huge.
For that team.
Agreed.
And they can establish the run game. Like, none of those running backs have had breakout games yet this year, but the Steelers' run defense, this is that kind of opportunity for a Gus Edwards to go off for 100 yards or something.
Unfortunately, yeah, you're right.
And the Steelers cannot afford to turn the ball over a single time in this game. They cannot. Just like they couldn't afford to do it last year, and they did it, 2 or 3 times? They can't afford to do it once.
Yeah, Trubisky 3 times in the red zone. Or 2 in the red zone, and he threw a Hail Mary into double coverage, and that was such a bad game. All right, 4:00 slate. Eagles at Rams. Los Angeles plus 4.5. Philadelphia undefeated, but they're going to Los Angeles. Josh, I'll start with you.
Ooh, Philly keeps finding ways to win games, don't they? They're a 4-0 team, and everybody's like, "Oh, Philly 4-0," and I'm like, "Hey, sometimes you got to win close ones to keep it interesting." I'm worried about if Philly has an answer for for what the Rams can do in this game. And did I read it right? Are they getting Cooper Kupp back?
There's
Or
a
is that
chance
still
that they are.
possibility?
There's a chance that they are.
It makes me nervous, the thought of getting Cooper Kupp back. That makes me really nervous. The one thing I think that would really push me in the Rams' favor is if they had Cooper Kupp back. And they're at SoFi. I got the Rams covered this one. I like the Rams with the 4 points.
It says the Los Angeles Rams announced they've officially designated wide receiver Cooper Kupp to return from injured reserve.
I wonder if he's practiced. I still think it's a field goal game. To your point, Josh, the Eagles have just skated by a couple times this year. I think they'll win, but I think 4.5 is too much.
Agreed.
I'm going to be different, and every time I've been different with the Eagles, I've been wrong. So why not do it again? I'm going to take Philly minus 4.5. They couldn't cover 8.5 against the Commanders, but that was a big number. And that game went to overtime. They won by 3 on a field goal. Rams are better than the Commanders, I think, but offensively, I just don't trust them.
When it comes to Philly, you sound like yourself when you pick teams in earlier days when we had Hot Sheet, and you would say, I'm picking this team to win because I don't like myself. It sounds like right now you're picking the Eagles because you don't like yourself.
Josh, they keep winning, but they don't cover.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's a fair point.
But the offense is clicking. Like Jalen Hurts finally is throwing the ball to A.J. Brown, and he should have been doing that from the very beginning of the season. Speaking of teams that I don't like, Cincinnati at Arizona. The Bengals have officially listed Joe Burrow off the injury list. Like he has no restrictions on their list. They are minus 3.5 in Arizona. Chris, you look very intrigued by this one.
Brings you back, and so does Josh Dobbs. It's a field goal game. Bengals get by on the hair on their chinny chin, and Arizona makes it uncomfortably close, ultimately losing, and because somebody has to lose this game, and somebody has to fall to 1-4. So that hook, that half point, does it for me. Give me the Cardinals plus 3.5.
Somebody has to lose this game, and it's America for having to watch it.
I agree with this one. I'm with Chris. I like Arizona with this one. Not to mention the fact that Arizona so far this season 3-1 against the spread. So,
and it's because they've had giant spreads because the books
they have had
don't
giant
trust
spreads.
them.
But at the same time, they're also starting to find that comfort zone with Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
And I think that's enough to where they can sustain drives and they won't fall behind too far against Cincinnati. And if they do, that offense could be another opportunity for a backdoor cover. It feels like Arizona for me with this one.
Well, just like with the Eagles pick, I'm going to hate myself, but I'm taking the Bengals. There has to finally be a week where Joe Shiesty looks like Joe Shiesty. It has to happen eventually.
Yeah, of course, it'll happen the week where I don't start him as my fantasy quarterback because I'm not going to this week.
And he plays the Steelers. That'll be whenever it happens.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the social media post from The Miz where he had this post? It was like when you have Joe Burrow as your quarterback and you're 0-4 in fantasy. Miz is angry. He's angry at Joe Burrow.
I am too.
What was the photo of?
I think it's just a photo of him like being upset at stuff, like Miz is kind of freaking out in the ring, but like he has Joe Burrow as his quarterback and he's 0-4 in fantasy. And
that disgusted look he gets on his face when LA Knight's music hits, And
people who actually who understand how the Miz operates away from the ring, he's a big fantasy football guy and he is not happy with Joe Burrow. Not happy at all. It's hilarious.
I picked up Josh Dobbs and I traded. I had a blockbuster trade this week and I got Joe Burrow back in the trade. So I am very torn on what I do. Do I start Dobbs or do I start Burrow?
That's as buy low as it comes, man. That's kind of smart.
Kind of evil genius, yeah.
Yeah.
I got Tyreek Hill back in the deal too, so it was a good trade by me.
Wow.
What?
I gave up Jalen Hurts, Breece Hall, and Garrett Wilson for Burrow, Pierce, and Tyreek Hill.
I don't hate that.
Yeah, I mean,
me neither.
It's a decent deal.
That's super shrewd.
Especially with bye weeks coming up, I had to make a move because I'm
who in your league is trading Tyreek Hill?
That's what I want to know.
Another guy that's 1-3 like I am. We're both trying to turn our seasons around. Then he traded CeeDee Lamb for A.J. Brown. So now he's got the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown connection.
Oh, okay, I see. I mean, he's trying to work some strategy there. Yeah, yes, I see it.
Fair.
All right. He's trying to just get all Eagles now on his team.
Okay.
All right. So we've had a toilet bowl every week. This is going to be the toilet bowl for this week. New York Jets.
The Nate Hackett game.
At the Denver Broncos. Yeah,
it's the Hackett Bowl.
Denver -2.5. This one is like the Broncos are favored, but it's against Zach Wilson. But the Jets played the Chiefs well, but it's still the Jets.
I don't trust Russell Wilson as far as I can throw him. Jets are a disaster too. I get it, but there were some flashes from Zach Wilson before he lost the game.
Yeah, before he fumbled it away.
Yeah. You know what? Give me the Jets and the points. Why the hell not?
That's great explanation. Why not?
Why not?
I mean, what was the spread on this one? It's like what?
Broncos -2.5.
We see Denver winning the field goal game in this game?
Possibly.
I could see a lot of things. I could see the game ending in a 0-0 tie. And the Jets would cover that way.
I could see the TV ratings being 0.0. I could see...
That's a lot more likely than the Broncos winning by a field goal in this one. I'll go Jets to cover. Just I'm not holding my nose and picking Denver again. I'm not doing that for a while until I see reason otherwise. Bad enough I put them in the playoffs this year.
Poor Andrew Catalon drew the short stick on this one.
Oh, poor guy.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Somebody's got to call it.
Well, he had to do Bears Broncos last week. Like, they hate that guy at that place.
Bro, you want to be an NFL play-by-play guy? You got to break in at some point.
This is when the lights come up at the end of the night after last call.
Yeah.
And he has to take that game home.
Yeah. So who are you taking, Josh?
Jets to cover, just because I'm sick of trying to trust Denver. I'm done.
All right. I'm taking Denver at home. No reason.
If they win this game, I'd be so angry. I'd be so mad.
Look, man, I'm trying to make up ground on you guys, so I have different picks than you. And
Greg's starting to play the Steigerwald. He's starting to play the Steigerwald.
He's totally going Steigerwald on us now. Yeah. He totally is.
It's not that. Kansas City at Minnesota, Vikings +5.5. This is the game of the week with Nance and Romo.
Why?
Because it's Kansas City. That's
America okay. Loves Justin Jefferson.
Just so we're clear. Okay. It's Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson because we ain't doing it because it's the Vikings, just so we're clear about this.
But I am taking Minnesota in the points on this one. Kansas City's not covering. Kansas City's not covering spreads like they should be. They looked rough against the Jets when they were up 17-0. They should have blown them out of the water, and they let them right back in. Justin Jefferson can change a game. I'm taking the Vikings.
I'm with you. Totally with you. I am on Vikings plus the points here.
I guess I'm the only guy taking Kansas City. Honestly, Greg knows why. Greg knows why. Not necessarily why I'm taking the Chiefs to win, but he knows why I'm picking the Vikings to lose. He knows.
Because they're mid.
I can't. Because they're mid. They're painstakingly mid. They went on the road against Jacksonville, a better team, and won by 8. Did they cover in that game? I can't remember. I don't think they did, but I think they can go on the road to Minnesota and beat the Vikings. Here's the crazy part. The Chiefs, who are usually not a team that turns the ball over a lot, they're -3 right now in turnover margin.
Yeah.
Minnesota's -8. So,
yeah.
They're going to make fewer mistakes, and Patrick Mahomes.
That'll be the difference. Yeah.
Travis Kelce's too busy thinking about Taylor Swift and what he's doing on the football field, and he's even tired.
That's what I was going to ask. Is she going to this?
Is she going to be in Minneapolis? Is the question.
I don't know.
Tune in to find out.
If she's there, I kind of like your theory.
Will Taylor Swift be in Minnesota? I mean, he seems like Travis Kelce on his podcast with Jason was like, the NFL's overplaying this. Like even he's tired of it. So
it's all a
NFL
marketing
likes
ploy
money.
anyway.
it is.
The
a
NFL likes
marketing
money.
play.
They like money, and they like people talking about them. So
So does Travis
Sorry.
Kelce. So
does Travis Kelce.
All
prime
right.
time Sunday night.
Yeah,
That
this
next?
is actually a good game. Like,
Yeah.
we've had a couple of yawners for Sunday Night Football, but this is probably game of the week. Dallas
Yeah.
Cowboys at San Francisco. The 49ers are -3.5. I'll start with you, Josh.
Oh man, you're right. This one's good. This one's actually good. This one has two teams that can actually beat each other, and they're both doing things right. They're both scoring a lot of points. They're not giving a lot up. They're not turning it over a lot. Oh, it scares me. It comes down to injuries for me. Everybody who looks like they could play in this game for San Francisco looks like they're going to play. I don't think anybody's really. I don't know. Is there anybody for Dallas that's not going to play in this game that's like actually important?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I mean, they lost their cornerback.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Diggs.
You said 4.5?
It's 3.5. 49ers
3.5.
3.5 at home.
3.5? Even without Trayvon Diggs, Dallas can hang in this game. Actually, I don't know. Without Diggs, it might be a little bit different. I'll go Dallas just because I don't like the thought of 3.5. I'm going to go with the Chris Mack, the hook brings you back method.
All right.
For picking the Cowboys.
Yep, I'm with you. It's the hook. I think this is a field goal game. I think it's going to be. It comes down to, do we get the well-disciplined Dak Prescott or the Dak Prescott of last year? Do the Niners force them into a crucial turnover late in the game? If they do, the Niners win by a field goal. If not, I could see this being the Niners' first loss of the year. Either way, give me the Cowboys plus the 3.5.
I have two words. Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
49ers -3.5.
I can't argue.
Can't argue that. Can't argue. Can't.
He has not been slowed down yet this season.
This is where I remind people yet again. Christian McCaffrey broke Barry Sanders' all-purpose yardage record for a season, and didn't win the Heisman. Like 0 cents.
Who won the Heisman that year?
Oh, it was one of the Alabama running backs. Was it Henry or was it Ingram?
I think it might have been Ingram.
Might have been Ingram. Yeah, he lost to an Alabama running back. He broke Barry Sanders' all-purpose yardage record at Stanford. He did it for Stanford.
That's ridiculous.
And didn't win the Heisman. The spirit of Toby Gerhart was angry that day.
The spirit of Toby Gerhart.
Final one. Monday Night Football. Kind of a yawner. Packers at Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders plus 1.5.
And you were right, Josh. It was Derrick Henry's year.
Derrick Henry. Okay.
But ironically enough, the year Ingram won, guess
Toby
who finished
Gerhart.
second? Toby Gerhart. Exactly.
There you go.
What's
Spirit
the
of Toby Gerhart was inflamed.
Las Vegas plus 1.5 is the spread.
That doesn't matter. Give me the Packers. Vegas sucks.
Oh, yeah. Trusting Josh McDaniels against a team like Green Bay. Green Bay has. Let's give him credit. Jordan Love has not really played himself out of the building. At least not yet.
Yeah,
He did against the Lions, but the Lions were just hungry that game.
But the Lions have owned Green Bay pre-Jordan Love. Was it 5 in a row now for Campbell against Green Bay? I think the Lions just own them. I think that's what that is. And I think the Packers are actually a pretty decent game. They're a pretty decent team. They can play a decent game. Their defense isn't too terrible. They keep themselves in every game they play. And the Raiders will shoot themselves in the foot 3,000 times, whether it's because of Josh McDaniels or Jimmy Garoppolo. So, yeah, Packers.
I got the blueprint. Devontae Adams, revenge game. He'll go for 250 yards, but they'll still lose the game. That is Raiders fashion, just like the Yankees. Oh, what did Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani do? Oh, they combined for like 7 RBI, but they still lost the game.
Yeah.
Tungsten arm El Devontae.
That's Vegas for you. It's Devontae Adams revenge game, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. They still lose.
That's a great call.
I'll take the
such a great call.
All right.
Well, I guarantee I'm not going to go 14-2 again this week.
You can't because there's bye weeks.
See, I told you. Always. that has been another edition of Fourth Down in the Steel City. You know to subscribe. Make sure you get the latest episodes delivered to you as soon as they're available. If you didn't yet, go back and check out our Building the Game Plan preview episode. We went behind enemy lines in Baltimore with Jeremy Kahn of the Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan down there.
Hey, we talked about The Wire.
Oh, we talked about The Wire a lot at the end of the episode. If you're more about The Wire than anything else, just fast forward to the last 5 minutes. Josh was in his glory. And anything you may have missed this week, go back and listen to, of course, right here on the 93.7 The Fan YouTube page as well. We will break it all down for you Sunday night after the game and look back on it Sunday night, Monday morning on another all-new edition of Fourth Down in the Steel City.